Okay, so can you tell us your name, where you're from, and what you do?
Ko Tongariro te maunga, ko Taipona Iatea te moana, ko Tūwharetua te iwi, ko Te Arawa te waka, ko Dallas Adams tōku ingoa. Kia ora koutou. My name's Dallas Adams and I'm from Tūwharetoa, which is in the King Country, but currently reside in Hastings, and I currently sit on the governance board for the Hawke's Bay District Health Board, advocating for mental health, our rangatahi, our youth, as well as men's health to spread awareness around the current issues that we face today.
Awesome, bro. And what makes you want to share your story on the Let Me Speak campaign?
Basically to normalise those taboo subjects, those hard to speak kaupapa, to keep it going, because most of the time when you talk about this really sensitive subject, sexual abuse, it stirs people up and it just makes them feel uncomfortable, but this is what the reality is today, and we need to normalise the speaking up about it rather than suppressing it and protecting a lot of people. And just speak up, it's all good. Your story will be heard one way or another.
Nice. And speaking of stories, where does your story start?
Okay, my story starts from when I was a 5-year-old little boy, growing up here in Hastings, in Hawke's Bay, and the first encounter with sexual abuse was when I basically got dropped off to an uncle and auntie's house, because my parents at that time loved to party and needed one of the relatives to look after myself as well as my siblings. So it started from there. I went to my uncle's and auntie's house, and
Did you go alone or?
sometimes I was alone. I didn't go with my brother or with anyone. And this first time was when I was alone. And then so I got dropped off. At the time I just didn't know what to expect. I was okay, or I wasn't playing up or anything. If I played up, it was because I just wanted to be with my parents.
Which is natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got dropped off. And then the grooming part, before the first encounter happened with sexual abuse, the grooming part was just getting like lollies and this, or what kids want at the age of 5, was getting sweets and stuff from the shop.
So were you the only child there on that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle, he was like, so the perpetrator, my uncle, he like looked after me, like he was good at babysitting, but behind that was an agenda.
Yeah.
So he gave me whatever I wanted, like we'll always go to the shop, or he'll just make me whatever I wanted, or he would like be a typical uncle and just like put me on his shoulders and just like have fun, like
Yeah.
run around with me on.
So at that time you had no kind of warning signs, or you didn't feel uncomfortable?
Didn't feel anything. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, like, you're getting what you want.
Yeah.
You're getting, even though I'm 5, I'm still thinking, this is what I like. I like lollies, and I like.
Yeah.
And then Yeah, so that was starting before the actual abuses started to happen. So I was getting groomed that way, and it happened as soon as I get dropped off. And then back to the first encounter, after all of that, having fun with my uncle, he was only young too at the time. You know, I just want to make that aware. He was also young, but
So if
He
you
was
were
older than
5, how old roughly was he?
he would have been like in his teenage years.
Oh yeah.
So he was leading into adulthood. And it also got discussed that that happened to him back
Yeah.
in time. So it was actually intergenerational
Yeah.
abuse. But that still doesn't make it
Excuse
alright
it. Yeah.
for what happened to myself. But I got told that story, and then at the time I said, well, I don't care because it happened to me.
Yeah.
And this is why I spoke up and put a stop to my family line going through that kind of thing. I don't know if it's still happening in my family line, but I know that they're aware
Yeah.
of my story, a lot of them. Yeah.
So what happened with that uncle?
I'll just go back to the first
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
So he groomed me well, and it always, most of the time it happened at night time because I got dropped off by my parents who I loved so much, and then I was left alone with this uncle who did this abuse on me, and the first time was in his bedroom, and I remember clearly that usually when you're with family you can top and tail, like meaning you can actually
Yeah.
sleep next to your whānau.
Yeah.
But this happened when no one else was around. Usually you do it in one big lounge, or you know, with lots of other family.
If there's nowhere to sleep.
If there's
Aye.
nowhere to sleep.
And then you resort to tip and tailing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was okay. I didn't care, and then yeah, it was in the middle of the night, the first encounter, and I remember clearly waking up to him touching me, but it was like slowly. It wasn't like gradual, like almost violent kind of thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like that. It was gradual. So he started touching me, and I was waking up, and I was confused. I felt like at that time, this is love, like from a whānau member.
Yeah.
Not realising that it's wrong.
Because do you think it could be confusing because it's not done violently and it's not hurting you? That could confuse you whether that is actually wrong because it's not hurting.
Yeah.
You know, because I've heard from people that they felt confused because it felt good and they didn't know whether it was wrong because it actually didn't hurt or you know.
It was that. It felt good. It confused you, but because you didn't get physically abused or anything like that, it felt like it was okay for them to do that. Because you're only 5, you're still learning what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
So maybe there needs to be some type of education around children who are at that age. What is right and what is wrong between safe touching and whatnot. I know they get talked about, but I don't see it enough.
What happened later after that?
So that started, the touching started, and then I remember then I started to get uncomfortable because it was like, the touching started, and then the uncle will like hug me while still feeling me up, like touching my private parts. Yeah, and still hugging me, so it's like kind of like he was pretty much taking control of the situation, and that's when I started to feel powerless and just weak with what actually unfolded, and he started kissing me like forcefully. He was this he was really fondling my penis and my just doing that kind of stuff, and that was the first encounter, and I felt like, at that time, even though I was 5, I felt like my soul, what do you call it? My soul started to like just let go, like felt like it was taken over. Like I'm just nothing kind of thing. At the time I still felt like it was okay for him to do that. But there was another side of me thinking, oh, if this is real love, then why am I feeling funny?
Did you think that my mum and dad don't do this type of thing to me?
No, didn't think of that. And of course they didn't do it because they're my parents.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that. I just thought, this feels weird, but not wrong.
And what happened in the morning?
In the morning I was like, I felt like I just was lost. So I just did my own thing, and he would like act like nothing's happened, and he'll say, oh, do you want to go to the shops again, go and get some more treats and stuff, and I just say yeah, because I never really got those kind of things.
Yeah.
Unless I helped out, doing
Yeah.
helping mum and dad out, that kind of thing. That's when I get rewarded. But yeah, it was like that.
So you didn't let anybody know the next day?
No. I should have, I know I should have, but now when I think about it, it's like I shouldn't have.
Did he tell you not to tell anyone or anything while he was doing that to you?
Yeah. He was like, he just said, he was like, shh, it's gonna be alright. Just keep saying that.
Yeah.
Just going, shh, it's gonna be alright. And when he was saying all of that stuff, I didn't feel like it was genuine. But I was thinking, he's my uncle, so if he's saying it's gonna be alright, it's gonna be alright. And I just thought, okay, maybe he's saying it's gonna be alright, this is gonna be a once-off kind of thing. And I was hoping, nah, it was many times. It happened between the age of 5 years old and 10.
With this particular uncle?
Only him.
And you never told anyone?
I didn't tell anyone until I was 10, 11.
Did you find it progressively getting worse each time, or?
Yeah. And it did. Another time was when I was 7. And this, by the way, all of this stuff happened when no one else was around. Yeah, I was 7 the other time that happened, and that was really not fearful. Just I felt like I died. What I mean is, I felt like I started to feel yuck and helpless, and he made me go down. He made me go down on him and do oral sex on him. Right, that's when he started to become a little bit more
Aggressive? Yeah.
And maybe it was because I started to feel like I didn't want to do this anymore, but I had no choice because I was with him and nobody else was around, and he just made me just grab my shoulder and just pushed me down on the ground and then do oral sex on him. And then he'll do it to me. Even though I didn't want it. It was like, yeah, he's actually fully taking over my control without my parents or anyone knowing. And that's when I really started to play up. I remember now. And that's when I started to play up from 7.
What do you mean by player?
Oh, just lash out at mum, lash out at dad. Didn't listen to anyone, didn't even listen to my own whānau. Like, they'll try, I was a wild child. Like, I just didn't want to listen to anyone.
Did anyone try to talk to you about what's actually going on?
At that time, no. Not that I know of. Well, I can't remember that part. No. No, I guess that's why I was really retaliating, because I felt like there wasn't the support that I needed to maybe speak up at that time. And
do you feel as though the fact that you hadn't told anybody that you felt a part of it too?
Yeah, because it went for that long. That throughout that period, I felt like I was part of this. I was part of this abuse. Like, yeah, he did it to me, but I still acted.
Allowed it by not speaking up?
Yeah. And I just remember crying. Like, from the age of 7 onwards, I just remember crying every time I went there to get dropped off. Even getting picked up. Yeah, getting dropped off and getting picked up, I started acting out and just...
Because you knew what was going to happen?
Yeah, that's when I started to realise, like, this wasn't okay. Because I couldn't tell anyone. Because I felt like it was my fault. Because I went with it when I was young. Yeah, and maybe my mum and dad did think to themselves, like, oh, I wonder why he's playing up, or wonder why he feels like he's going through a lot.
When were you able to speak up? What prompted you to?
What prompted me was with the last encounter when I was like teen. And
What happened?
what happened was we had a family outing. Me, my immediate family, like mum, dad, and siblings. The uncle, him, his whānau, like his mum and dad, and a few other extended family members. We did a family day out by the river, where we had lunch, and they had beers and stuff like that. And it was a nice day, it was hot, and all the kids were swimming in the river, and then that was all good. And then I started floating down the river, so I started drifting away from the pack, the crowd, the family. I started drifting down the river with the current. And then the uncle saw what was happening, so he started to swim by me, like, cause I was going away, and then maybe it was like a few hundred meters down the river. I made my way back up the river bank, to make my way back to where everyone was.
Did you see him?
Yes, I did.
And how did you feel when you saw him coming behind you?
I knew what was going to happen. And it progressed as in he was ready to rape me. Like, he tried to rape me. You know what I mean? Do the full thing, like pull my pants down and...
Yeah.
Yeah. And he tried to do that. He tried to do it, but at that time I was 10, and I was screaming and kicking. And then he was like grabbing me and going, like, shh, please don't tell anyone, please. And I was like, nah, I'm fucking telling my parents on you. And I was just hysterical and crying and...
Why do you think that time you were gonna scream out in that?
Because I knew my family were not far away, whereas those other times, I don't know where they were.
Yeah.
So I knew, from memory, I knew they were just like a few hundred meters away. They were still there, and I can run back. And I think he knew if I ran back and he, like, just fully told everybody, oh, my dad would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say it.
Yeah, hard.
He would have did something real big.
And so what did you do? Did you go back?
Yep. So he because he stopped, he stopped me from trying to rape me because I was yelling and screaming, but he just said, please don't tell anyone. This wasn't him. I took my power back from him, and he knew, because he knew I was ready to say something, and that's when he begged me not to say anything. And at that particular time, I agreed. I didn't say anything, but a few months later, I just pretty much let it all out. And when I did do that, I felt like they didn't believe me. Certain family members didn't believe me.
What kind of things did they say that made you think that they didn't believe you?
Oh, they just like laugh. Like, hey, like I was just making it up, kind of thing.
Right. Little boy.
Yeah,
you know,
you don't know.
Crazy stories, big imagination.
Yep, all of that. Thinking you're this attention seeker kind of thing.
How does that make you feel when When you finally find the courage to speak up and they say things like that or make you feel like that.
Right now or then?
Then.
Oh, they made me feel like I was nothing. They made me feel like I'm not even part of a family. They made me feel like if you don't believe me, then the rest of the world's not going to believe me. Because that's where I went to, my family first, who should have just really took it and just go back to their own room or whatever and have a think about what actually was said by
How serious.
the situation
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But they didn't take it upon themselves to do that, and that's when I started to think self-harm, suicide, depression, all of that stuff, that heavy mental health stuff started to creep into my life.
So when you go through that and you try to speak up and you find that people make you feel like they don't believe you and things, is that what you do? You tend to just say, okay, fine, I'll shut it all off then. And then you end up going down that spiral of self-harm.
Yeah. I feel like all of that abuse in the past took away my confidence, took away my best version of myself. I could have led a different path at a much younger age of doing well in life. But that was all taken away because of the abuse, and not only that, there was no support. And I had to reach out to other people for support. But by then, see, I was 11, in my teenage, started going into my teenage years. By then it was too late.
What do you mean?
I was determined to finish my life. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I was in that place, that dark place of just not wanting to be here because I felt like I was nothing. I felt like, yeah, the love was there for my own family, but that wasn't enough because I got abused and my story wasn't heard. So I took the formal route, which was going down to the police station with a support person and giving a full statement of what actually happened in those times, which led to court hearing and prosecution with the uncle.
Oh, yeah.
So I went through all of that too at this young age, going up into the dock and recounting everything that the judge needed to hear that was on my statement.
What made you want to take it to that level? After speaking to, trying to speak up and you weren't believed, did you then carry on to try to speak up?
Yeah. Because my family, my family couldn't take it in, couldn't really help with the situation, I had to resort to extended family who
took it serious.
Who took it serious, who thought, well, if it's happening to him, it must be happening to the other nephews. And it did. Other cousins of mine went through the same thing as me. They started to speak up, but they'll say it to me one-on-one, not go through what I went through and speak up. They just told me.
They understand.
Yeah, they knew. They must have heard from other family members, because I didn't tell them what I went through.
So you went through court in that, and what was that like? How old were you when you went through court?
I was 12, 13, 14, because it was a long process of leading up to the actual court.
Yeah.
Building the courage to actually write down the statement. Is
that experience traumatizing at that age?
Yes, it is.
In itself?
It's something that I wouldn't recommend a child or teenager or a young a young child to go through because
They shouldn't have to.
no,
Aye.
because they shouldn't have to at the beginning. It should be sorted straight away without that involvement, because that's when it becomes heavy. Because it's all formal. There are people you don't even know.
But you shouldn't have even been getting touched to even have to say something, eh? And what happened? How long did he get?
He didn't get a imprisonment. He got probation, and
Wow.
he got intensive supervision, and so around those kind of sentences,
Is that for 5 years or so worth of sexual abuse?
5 years of trauma, 5 years of hell for yeah, and that's the punishment you get.
And then also the trauma of going through the court proceedings.
Yeah, that was, and I think that helped me. Not actually, it helped me go more into depression because I
Yeah.
was starting to go through all of that stuff, and it was like I knew it wasn't a typical teenage life to be going through,
Yeah.
and just seeing family members sitting in the courtroom, and I'm just thinking, deep down thinking, fuck, this is like, I'm out of its shit. And yeah, because of all of that, I had a shit life. I just didn't give a shit.
How did your life go after the
All of
court
that.
proceedings and he got probation?
Oh, I was like not a happy child or happy. Yeah, I wasn't a happy child in high school. Or I always had to go and get seen by the student counsellor from high school, or was always in there in lunch times when all the other boys in there are being boys, having fun and stuff, and here's me in the counselling room with.
Did the courts in that help you with counselling in that? Put you in standing?
Yeah, they did. They helped me with counselling, but I didn't like the services that they provided. I was happy to do it in my school. Yeah.
Why? What was the difference?
Maybe because I knew, I felt comfortable being in an environment that I was
familiar with?
with,
Yeah.
rather than just going into an office with a stranger kind of thing. Maybe that will trigger, because I don't know them.
Yeah.
And I'm by myself with this person. Yeah, I just didn't like it. Yeah, try to put me on antidepressants at that age. I'm not gonna say that it's wrong to have antidepressants at that age, but I made myself not have them.
Yeah.
I just went to drugs, like weed and marijuana and alcohol, all of that kind of thing, just to
Numb it.
numb it,
Yeah.
like just keep it down, keep it suppressed.
And how long did that work for?
It didn't work. It was just like a
Plaster.
band-aid that's just getting ripped off all the time because you always needed it. And the more I did it, the more I spiraled out of control. Put my parents through hell. Just not respecting them one bit, and I saw the hurts.
Do you think that you had a little bit of resentment because you weren't protected?
I had a lot of resentment, a lot, and I saw the hurt from them, and I didn't feel like it was my fault when I saw the hurt on them, and because I just felt like they were part of the you know, they were part of the blame for
Because
what
they
I went
put you
through.
there.
Yeah, to be honest. I feel like, nah, you put me through this, you helped this happen, it's your fault too. I started blaming everybody because I was hurting, because I felt like even though it got settled through court, I felt like that was just the beginning of the end.
The rest of your life.
Yeah. And there was many times where I wanted to just not be here, and I even attempted suicide multiple times.
Do you remember what those days looked like? Those days when you would make that decision that I've just had enough.
It's a place that is really, really, really dark, really, really, really lonely. A place where you've already made your mind up not to be here. And the only warning signs you can give from that is to be present in their lives. And what I mean is be aware of what they're going through. You may not know their story, but you may see signs of depression or anxiety or low self-esteem, just like even little things like that. Don't make it obvious and go, are you alright, or are you okay, what's wrong? Don't do all of that kind of thing. Just take them out for a feed or a coffee or something. Just like take them out of the room kind of thing. Like, get them out of there. Just be supportive. You don't need to like be extravagant or anything.
Do you still have any triggers from your abuse?
Yeah, because I'm really protective of my own nephews and that now.
Yeah.
I know they're alright, and my nieces, they're alright. I know they're well protected, got good support, they've got awesome support, but even then I'm still like worried.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's natural. Do you struggle with anything on the daily that's come from your experiences? Or how did you manage to heal yourself?
How did I manage to heal myself? Was time. It was time, meaning it's a process that shouldn't be rushed. You know, you've got to really unpack what's going on, what happened, and not let it get to you by thinking it's your fault. Because you naturally seem to blame yourself, even though it wasn't your fault, obviously, because you're only young or whatever the situation is, and you're the survivor of it. I just think that there needs to be more support around abusers implemented in either education or even just what you're doing now with raising awareness and bringing it to the forefront, rather than having second doubts about it. It's going to help people who have been holding it on for this long, who need to heal and don't know how to heal themselves. So this is one way to do that. It's to speak up, and it's okay. But honestly, I don't know who's watching, but if you're afraid to speak up, well, put it this way: you will be saving someone's life. You will be saving someone's life literally by speaking up, by letting them know you're not alone. And especially for the brothers out there, they find it hard to speak up more than our sisters. So this one's for you, all the brothers in there out there who are suffering. I encourage you to talk to someone. It doesn't have to be family, it could be anyone you trust. This one. All you need is one person just to let your
Unload.
heart out. And it'll be okay. It'll take time, but it'll be okay.
Alright, well, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story today on the Let Me Speak campaign. Yeah, I think your inspiration for jumping in front of the camera and sharing those details. And I want to say thank you. Do you want to say anything before we finish?
All I want to say is to be loving. That's so important. Just be loving and just love one another and just look out for one another too. Yeah. Love yous.